Wow, we are live. But I think there's a bit of a lag on my connection, so I see myself on YouTube just staring at the screen. But I hope you can hear me. And I'm excited to see many people already in the chat room. Already 21 people here. So I will be drawing today live this nice reference photo here. This is a reference from Dani Gloomy. Is a nice boy with a very big machine gun or water pistol. So it would be nice to something to tackle. It has a lot of 3D view and reference photo here. So I will try during this live session to watch the chat, but I'm very bad at multitasking. So if I don't answer your question quite fast, that's because I'm so concentrated in drawing this reference photo. But I will try to scroll back and to see if there are any questions. So today I'm in Bruges, it's a small city in Belgium. It's very nice weather here. I had a very nice relaxing walk. So I hope you also relaxed. I hope a bit more relaxed than me, because I need to draw and do a live session. You are sitting at home. And what we are going to use is just some basic tools. Well, using a pencil, a brush pen. I have many brush pens here, and maybe yeah, I will do some combination of tools. But let me first make my screen a bit bigger. Put myself here in the bottom. So you see, I already wrote some details here. I wrote a wrong line here. So if you want to learn more about brush inking and comic art inking, I have an course on Sktchy. You can go to shop@sktchy.com and you can learn more about how to do brush inking. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my name is Patrick Hochstenbach. It's a German name, but I'm of Dutch descent. So I hope it all works. I see that some people can't hear my voice, but I hope there are other people that can still hear my voice. So I hope it will be fixed. So what I will try to do is first I will make it a sketch to make it a bit easier for us all to work with this reference photo. And based on this sketch we will add some lines to give an impression of the depth of this reference photo. And also, well, it is because the Inktober is quite near. And maybe you want to have a warming up of Inktober. It would be nice to use some ink. The one problem I always have with creating this drawings is that I make them too big. But let us not worry about that, because if I make it too big, I will just add a paper next to it, and we can always enlarge as much as we want. And what we need to do to get this right on the paper is maybe to count the number of heads in the drawing. So I see in the reference photo it takes 3 heads to get the whole person in view. So I will count 1, 2, 3. So this is probably enough to get the boy completely in view here. And there's also a bit, I think 3 heads to get his water pistol in view. So I have 1 head, 2 heads. So it could be that we can do it all in one page. And counting heads is the most easiest way to get a basic proportions right. And we are not doing exact science here, so we don't need to have really a perfect way to measure all things. It should be well, should be believable for a viewer that it is almost okay to have the right proportions, because as we as an artist can play with proportions as much as we want. So if you are taking photographs, you can do only one thing: press the shutter of the photograph, but we can play as long as we want and maybe exaggerate things or making things a bit bigger or smaller than in real life. And also, what I doing with this sketching is, well, I'm just looking a bit and I looking at the angles that are in the reference photo. So I see that is why this reference photo here is a very nice photo, because it has a lot of depth. You have many lines. This line of the water cannon, and the boy is looking straight at the camera. So I hope this will help a bit to add some depth to the drawing. I don't like to add many details in the sketch, because the sketching phase is just one of the phases of drawing, where we are adding lines with the ink. We keep on sketching and adding more details. The only thing we need to remember is, if people are looking straight at the camera, the eyes are mostly in the middle of the face. So if we divide this face by 2, this is the line on which we need to draw the eyes, and the mouth a bit lower. His mouth is very low. And for the rest, we need to watch carefully the reference photo. This is a kind of a more freestyle how to draw a reference photo. And people can be a bit uncomfortable doing this freestyle, but it helps you a bit to make more interesting lines. So the freer you are and not afraid of adding lines, the more interesting the result will be. Also, if you are very stressed and have your body in a very stressed way, it's very hard to get nice lines. And what I mean is that the lines have to not be perfect lines. You can have a wiggle in the line. It's very interesting, but it doesn't have to feel that you have to force your pen and press very hard. It should feel like a dance on paper. I have no idea where we should start, but maybe I will start with the top of his jumper. Oh, this pen is almost empty. Luckily, I have a second pen. What I'm using is my favorite pen, because you're all relaxed at home, but I'm doing a live thing, so I use my favorite pen so that I'm a bit more relaxed. It's the Fudino Suku pen. It's about €2.50 or $2. You can buy them online. I buy them in a Dutch online shop. I have to buy them by I need to pay about €20, and it's cheaper to get these pens at home, but I don't mind to order 10 pens. It's good enough for a few months. This pen is very handy for me to use, because I can take this pen wherever I go, and it feels a bit like drawing with a brush, but still have this feeling of that you are using a pen kind of feeling. You have these brush pens in two two types. You have the soft one, that feels more like a brush, and the hard one, that feels more like a pen kind of drawing. And this is certainly a very good way if you want to get introduced into this brush kind of drawing, where the lines, well, tend to have their own lives. So what you see, the lines are thicker and thinner, and maybe you think that I plan these things, and a bit is planning, but a bit is also going with the flow, using the serendipity of just finding out what the pen wants to do this today. And normally, certainly when you are working with brushes, they have their own life. So if you feel relaxed, the brush is also quite relaxed. If you feel a bit tense, the brush is you see it in the lines. Luckily, this kind of brush pens are a bit easier, because it feels really like just writing. So it's not a different technique to handle these pens. I also make small lines, and I also try to play with white space. So you see, I don't fill in here all the details here, because it gives you a bit of an illusion of there is some highlight there. I didn't plan it, but I think it is very nice effect. And what I'm doing now is a bit of a way how you would do a contour drawing. And you start learning to draw. Contour drawing is an easy way to learn to draw, because the human eye is very good to recognize these shapes here, these lines, and it also helps you to trick your mind not to really look at the face there, because our brain is so trained to look at the human face that our brain makes the eyes too large, too large, and the nose too low. So if you learn how to use contour drawing, you can switch off this brain part that tries to interpret what it sees. So we already have a bit of a jumper. Now I can breathe, and now we go into the details. And normally when you draw eyes, my mind goes slower, and it's the eyes are the most important thing in drawing. If you can get the eyes correct, then the drawing is already done. It's important in the eyes that you not draw an eye that you that you learned on the school, not two kinds of half circles. Put a circle in between, because it is quite dead. You need to learn to have a bit of a shape there, and certainly add a line on top. It gives an extra an indication of the depth of the eye. Also, how much details you put in the eye is dependent on how big you want to draw the eye on the page, because here I need to have only a small eye, so I don't add all the details. But if you adding a bigger eye like this, you can maybe add more kind of shadows and an indication how the eye is structured, with an iris and maybe eyelashes. But here is a very small eye, and we don't need all these details, because the human eye will fill it in. So it really tries to see an eye in this all these lines, and it's you in a way you are tricking the mind of the people that are looking at this drawing to see something that is not really there. And this is all what we are trying to do with this line art. We are not adding all the information. We choose a bit the lines, and we hope that the brain of the people that watch this drawing, that they fill in the rest. And what details to add is a personal choice, so it depends on your style. And there's also a style that I learned a bit from looking, well, reading many comic books and trying to use the style of the this artist. It is a good idea to try to repeat a style, but still you need to stop at some moment, because it's very important to make your own style. And we don't need to worry here about likeliness. It is all about getting something on paper. A boy that is holding this water cannon. So now we're already done. We can go into the next drawing. Now we will add some details. Here I'm looking at the shoulder part. I see this is this shoulder, his left shoulder, his right shoulder. On the left side of the reference photo goes into his mouth. So here in the sketch I was too low. I needed in the real life I needed to make a bit higher, so it get this line goes into his mouth. And also on this this side, the line of his shoulder here is also on the same level as his mouth. So also here my line was a bit too low. This is what I mean during the inking phase. It's not really an inking phase. You are still sketching. You keep on sketching, and you keep on making choices. And it's the same way when you are adding color. Also there you keep making an artistic decisions, how to add more information, and you can still change your mind. Of course, when you add more and more lines, it will be a bit harder to change your mind. But in this way, I regard my sketch as just the first to try to get something on paper, but I'm not fixated to really trace my sketch. And it's also not very good. I think not a very good idea to trace sketches, because it makes the lines very dull. See, I'm also using these wiggly lines. Is it because of my nerves, or because I want it? Well, let's say whatever you do on the paper, you at least need to convince yourself. Whatever you put on paper, it was always meant to be like this. Even if it is not the case, it makes your minds and your art much better if you treat it as really this is what I wanted to do all the time. It makes your lines more bolder. If you are too hesitant, it will see in the lines. You can see at which drawings the people were really trying. Well, is this good, or is this not good? And it feels that you are losing the energy of drawing. So better than to trick your own mind and to say, well, this is of course, this line should always be there. This is what I really meant. Also, where to add blackness is also a personal choice. I think, for my preference, is not to use too much black, because it is creating line art is a way to play with white space also. So there's also an idea that you can sculpt the white space. And it's indeed like having cats in the house. You never wonder why did this get always sort. Well, just let me hang myself in the curtains. I always wanted to do this. It's the same way with drawing. Because the most beautiful things are the mistakes that you really did with passion. And I think it's problematic that many people are just too focused on making a beautiful drawing and too little they are thinking about, I want to make an interesting drawing. And very often mistakes are very interesting to watch. Okay. Ha! I was thinking I was going to draw very fast, but of course I'm talking too much. Normally I'm very fast drawer. See, and even here is some mistakes, but it's gone too low, but just accept it, and the line is there. What I try to do is also make these lines. I'm watching very closely how the lines are in this gun, and always try to make the direction a bit the same. But I know these lines should end here somewhere at this side of the paper, outside of the paper, into a finishing point. So these lines will go in this direction to meet this finishing point. So if I want to add, no, I can't point into the reference photo. If I want to put some part here, like the font, it points a bit more in this direction. It points more in this direction. You don't need to go into the details of all this perspective drawing, but at least you should know it is there. And if you adding a bit of this indication of perspective, it will add to give a more 3D feeling in your drawing. The link you give for the class doesn't work. I'm sure that people of Sktchy will provide the correct link. So normally if you have a lot of time, also these things when people are holding objects is very nice, because you can add a lot of details and patterns. Patterns are also very pleasing to the eye. So are you all now just watching me drawing, or are you also busy with creating the same drawing? Or watching Netflix while I am drawing? So what I can say is what I'm doing now is not really very closely in a mathematical way looking at all the details that should be correct. At least I get some patterns from the objects he is holding, and I just give him suggestion, and that something is there. It shouldn't be. I don't think that the art police will come into my room and really count the number of details in the water pistol that the boy has and what is on my paper. So I can even add some things that are not really there, just to give it a more interesting view. And certainly with Inktober, there are many prompts in Inktober. It can be quite hard to find the right reference photo, so it gives you also a chance to just make something up. And in the lesson I did for Sktchy on brush inking, there's one lesson I just I show how you can combine reference photos to get a new result. Because of course, what you need to learn is to draw and to learn this figure drawing and to learn how to draw a person from any direction. This is the hard way, but you can also combine many reference photos to one new combination. I actually did a lot of figure drawing here in Bruges. That was every Monday. There was a figure drawing session here in the neighborhood, and it really helped me to get over my fear of figure drawing, because it can be quite challenging to get all the shortcuts and what is it called? When I point to here and you point to here, you see all kind of foreshortenings to get this all correct. And it's really a matter of making many mistakes. You go to this figure drawing lessons, they don't teach you anything, but it's really as if you dive in the deep and just make many mistakes. If you do this for a few weeks or months, these mistakes will turn into something that is believable. So I added a hand. That's just a basic hand. It looks like a bit of a trapezium with lines added. Here we have a nice thing that it is a very small hand. You don't see all the details, so it gives you a free way to draw a hand. If you really want to draw hands, I have also a lesson on this, but it boils down. I have to give the very boring answer. Just draw many hands. This for summer vacation. I only drew hands every day, and I did bit by bit. So I started with only drawing the thumb. Drew many thumbs, and then drawing many other kinds of fingers, and then slowly I tackled the whole hand. And it's, if you do it a lot, this hand gets really, it will not be much harder than drawing face, because we normally when we learn to draw, we start to draw this. Going to draw portraits, but the hand is the same. It's the same kind of lines in there. It's very hard because normally you don't start with this, but in the anatomy of the human face is much more complicated than the hand, but we draw it much more often. You purchased the class. Thank you. I think it's a lot of fun to do to make these videos. I think I will make some more for the Sktchy school. So if you purchase a class, you get access to the Sktchy school, and there are many free articles and free video lessons. It's nice to when people ask questions in these lessons, because it gives me inspiration to write an article or a new video about some techniques. So half an hour there. Now it's just a basic problem of adding more lines. So let's see. The first thing, I'm constantly watching the same screen as you have, but I have the big reference photo here at my screen, so I'm always watching the very small reference photo here, but I have it in big here, so now I can really see what is happening. In his jacket, he has all kind of tools in his jacket. I used to draw every day. That was for me, well, I did it for 10 years. I drew every day. And you don't have to draw very long. So if you draw 15 minutes every day, it should be enough to learn a lot. And to learn a drawing technique, or to learn your own style, well, alas, it takes a while. People want to have these days very fast results, but alas, the time it takes to learn a good style, you need to learn in not in weeks, but more in months or in years. Sometimes you can make a very fast progression. Sometimes it will be stable for many months, and suddenly you learn something new. It can also be that suddenly you lose the ability to draw anything. It can be when you are too busy and your mind needs to relax. So if you suddenly find out that nothing works out, then it's better to take some vacation and not be frustrated. Then draw again when you have a bit more relaxed and some new drawing energy. But what I found out of many years of drawing is okay. It's nice to learn better techniques, but the most important thing is thing you want to draw at all. The story that you want to draw is so important that the technique will follow what you want to draw, and usually not the other way around. So I think with any type of technique you can make very interesting artworks, and you shouldn't wait that you will say I can only make art when I can do this perfect technique. No, it doesn't work this way. This is what I found out the wrong way. I spent too much time on getting a technique, and then suddenly I found out the things I was doing all along, but I thought, well, this is completely wrong. That was the good technique. That was my technique. So actually, after a few years of building up technique, I went back to the original style where I started with, and this is my own style. And yeah, within these limitations, you can learn a bit more how to make advantage of your own style, because no one in the world can repeat your own style. And it's very nice to learn to draw with limitations, because it makes you more inventive. I'm not pushing the chat. Okay, 45 people are watching. Wow. "45 people are watching and drawing while eating lunch." We are 35 minutes in. And inking with a brush pen. This is also that I can see now the drawing in small in the screen. There's also a nice way how you can judge if your drawing is correct, or it needs to add more ink. Is to step back or stand up and look at your drawing from a distance. It gives you a new perspective on your drawing. Also, what can happen is that you don't like your own drawing. That happens with everyone. Everyone doesn't like their own drawings. What it then helps is to just put the drawing away. Look at the drawing again the next day and see if you can like it more or not. Oh, I missed a part of this jacket here. See, no art police here, I just add stuff. So there's now 20 minutes left. So this is a bit how I would finish this drawing. And usually I would add some more shadows in there, if it is possible. Also, I don't like to draw in pencil, because something I really hate is erasing lines, or erasing pencil lines. There's something in the process of erasing lines that I really don't like. Also smudges a bit the paper, so I would normally sketch on a different paper and if I need to sketch, I use a light box, and I draw on top of this light box. What I also do is well, I made them a bit too long. Of course, yeah. Oh well. It's adding some shadows, etc. in my iPad. Maybe there's some time left. Maybe I can show you how to do this. So let me take my iPad. And let's make a scan of this thing. Because this the nice thing of today is you have a lot of tools. You don't need to buy a scanner. You can just use the tools you get on your iPad. So I will import. So scan it again. Differently. See, I'm making mistakes, but the heat of the moment. Let's scan it this way. It does not work. Oh well, then not. Then we will add some more with a brush. What I wanted to show is there are so many techniques you can just scan this into your iPad and then use the Procreate to add more blackness or more grays or add more colors. Also, there's something kind of magic happening when you scan a drawing. It still has a different feeling than the paper drawing. I think because it is you are looking at this drawing from a glassy background. Suddenly, these lines are becoming more nicer, clearer. Here's another pen. It's the Pilot pen. You can also use it to add small details. But this one really feels like a real brush pen, and you need to handle it a bit more carefully to draw details. So I didn't scan it, but I wanted to scan it to show how you can add more details also in Procreate. I normally like when I want to add shadows and gray tones. I usually do it in Procreate, so I'm more used to doing mixed media when I because I can draw the line drawing also in Procreate, but I tried a lot of techniques, but still I find the real ink lines much nicer when you draw it with normal analog tools. But then I tried to add gray tones to the image, and there I found the digital version much nicer than the analog version. So that's why I usually do a combination, draw in analog and then scan it and then add gray tones in Procreate. Let me see if there are some details. Questions? Others some questions. It also helps to get more depth if you add kind of a background. So let me first finish his another pen, mangaka flexible. Adds more of the trousers. If I add more trousers, I can hide a bit the fact that I made his body too large for his head. Oh well. And now we can add a background to add more of an interesting, well, to add more depth to the drawing. You only need to remember, make his shoulder a bit larger, is that normally the horizon is at the same level as the shoulders of people. Well, it depends. If you're making a photograph of the person and you're on the same height as the person, normally the shoulder is on the same height as the horizon. I suspect that his mother made this photograph, so I think she's a bit taller than him, or still she was a bit taller than him. So maybe the horizon is a bit higher than in this case. So I put it on the level of his nose. So you can add a bit of an horizon line here. Make it a wiggly line. It's more interesting, and you see immediately it has an effect that the person will get to the front of the page. Also can make of the fact he's holding this water gun, and these lines go somewhere to a vanishing point, somewhere on the horizon, so somewhere on this line, but somewhere out of the page, and it points back to the parallel lines, because when you're holding a gun, a water gun, there are, these lines are all parallel to the horizon. So all these lines are meeting in a vanishing point, and you can make use of this fact to add a bit of these lines that gives an indication that there is some kind of vanishing point there, like he's on a field, and for some reason the lines of the acre is in parallel with the lines of his water gun. Then we can add some kind of some dots to give an impression of some grass growing there. If you are closer, the details will get bigger. So if you get farther, the details will get smaller. This adds to the impression that there's something happening there. And it's just fooling around with the eye of the people that are watching this drawing. So I make the dots smaller. Maybe on the horizon I can add some trees. This is the this is a 1 point perspective. So I can maybe explain it again. So he is holding a gun. Like say this, the gun is this box here, and these are all parallel lines for the person. So normally, when you put this box right in the camera, these lines are all parallel to the horizon. And if I turn the box a bit, these lines are still parallel in real life, but if you are watching this in the video, these lines here, oops, will meet somewhere at the horizon because you turned it a bit. And this is how perspective works. So these lines, when you would draw them, would meet somewhere at the horizon. So this is also happening in the drawing here. So these lines are these lines are in the real gun are really parallel, but he is pointing the gun a bit to his left. So all these lines will somewhere meet at some point at one point at the horizon. So it's a cheap trick. Also, you have lines that go this way. Also, these lines will meet somewhere at some point at the horizon if the person is pointing the gun very straight. You don't need to go into all the details of perceptive drawing. Just make an indication, and just do it a bit of perspective drawing is usually enough. Again, there's no art police that says, well, no, the finishing point is there and not there. So I think I'm almost done. So if I would do it again, I would measure it a bit better. But still, it's good enough for a live drawing. I would like to see you doing a live drawing and chatting and multitasking. So let me see if there are some questions. We have, I think, a few minutes left. If you have some questions, or if you don't have any questions and you want to just say hi, then you can say hi. Hi. And I'm a bit lagged, so I need to wait a bit. So if there are well, no questions, and then I would like to thank Sktchy for the opportunity to get me live on YouTube, and I hope to find you soon in online. I'm on Instagram and also in the Sktchy school. Sometimes I write articles there and make videos. And yeah, the gun is indeed a challenging thing, but it's nice to do challenging stuff. If that was all too easy, we wouldn't do any kind of drawing, right? We'd like to do drawing because it is hard. Indeed, I will try to get my scanner working and scan it in and post it online. So if you move the horizon line, what happens? Well, if you move the horizon line a bit upwards, it will if you move it upwards, it is as if the person that is taking the photograph is making the chasing the position, but still, if you are holding something parallel to the ground, then all the lines will meet at the horizon. Things will change when you're not holding things parallel, but when you put it in tilting, then the vanishing point will point somewhere in space. But most of the things we build, like houses, are all flat on surface. Also, when you holding a gun is also in parallel of the ground level, and then all the lines should somewhere meet at the horizon. So what app do I use to scan scans? Well, I was trying to, but I did something to switch off my network. I was using the Tiny Scanner app. There are many apps, but I always use the Tiny Scanner. Tiny Scanner. And if I use my normal scanner here, I have a normal A3 scanner, and I'm using this in black and white mode. When I'm doing ink, this ink kind of things, I use in black and white, and I use 1200 dpi. This gives a very good quality of scan, and this kind of scan is you can turn it back into a lower resolution, and then you can in a drawing program that does layers like Procreate, you can add other kind of gray tones or coloring. You can add in a layer beneath the ink lines, and it's well, I should make a video out of this. I think I have a video. Sorry, I think I have a video in one of my classes on how to draw like a comic artist. And also, well, in the 30 Faces videos, and also there's video lectures on Sktchy or how to draw in Procreate. They have many videos how these layers work and blending modes, and this you can use to make your analog in a nice digital drawing. I'm losing my voice here, so maybe I should stop here, and I will wish you a very nice evening. Goodbye.